So welcome to today's Homegrown Hangout. I'm very privileged to have Loulita Gill, all the way from Bristol via South Africa, or South Africa via Bristol. And it's lovely to speak to Loulita. So Loulita, tell us how you got into songwriting. So you've been doing this for a while now.
It was kind of like in my teens, really. I did like a course on worship and music. I didn't think I was going to be a songwriter. I thought I was going to be a dancer. In fact, I've got my ballet shoes somewhere in this house.
I didn't know that.
Didn't you? I did ballet, tap, modern jazz. I did all kinds of dancing. And when I was growing up, I honestly thought like that was the area I was going to end up in. I was going to have a production company and do productions all around the world and have my own dance company and everything like that. But kind of God really led me on a different journey, and I got into music and and started writing songs then. So I've been writing them for a while.
So are we going to see some kind of moves in the next videos, or in maybe the middle of a worship set, you know, bust out a kind of pirouette or a...
The only dancing I ever do now is at the back of a church. When there's a nice, you know, up-tempo song, you might find me dancing in the back, but definitely not any kind of ballet moves.
A little known fact about me is I used to do breakdancing when I was a
teenager. Are you serious?
Yeah, I was in a band, and a couple of the guys, they were really, really good. And then me and the other guy who played keyboards, we learned a few moves, so we could kind of pad out them doing the power moves and stuff. But I'm still suffering with back problems as a result, kind of 20 years later. So, but it was quite fun. It was fun to learn it. But again, I don't think I'll be busting out any breakdancing in the middle of worship sets.
No, I think I've kind of like exactly the same here. I've moved away a little bit from the whole dancing thing, but I did really love it. I did really enjoy it, but it just wasn't my calling, as they say.
So you're originally from South Africa. So what brought you to the UK?
My parents, really, because they came over and they started a church, and so we just all came as a family. And then I got quite involved with their church, and was leading worship there for a long time. And that's sort of what brought me over.
And you went back to South Africa. Was it 2 years ago, last year, or was it the year
last
before?
year?
You went and did a tour there. So tell us about that. What was it like going back to South Africa? And you took a huge band with you as well.
I know.
Events. Tell us about that.
It's like I'm such an all or nothing person. It's like go big or go home, you know. That was quite interesting. It was quite amazing going back. A lot has changed since I left. But yeah, it was just really an amazing experience, and it was really good to kind of reconnect with a lot of South Africans and meet a whole bunch of new people, new South Africans, and some of them are kind of following my journey now in music. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. We definitely ate everywhere we went, because South Africans are really hospitable. So, with every event that we did, there was food. So they really took very, very good care of the band, and we just had a phenomenal time. We did about 5 different worship events in 5 different churches, and just was awesome, really awesome. It was only a week. We only went for a week because that's all I could afford. So it was really life-changing. I feel like in South Africa, it's actually in Uganda, because I went to Uganda as well last year, and I think it was really like in Uganda and South Africa, I felt like there was like a real shift with me as well, with kind of worship and leading worship. I definitely stepped into a new, I don't like calling them zones or levels, or but I feel like there was a confidence that grew in me. And in fact, when we came back and we did that Homegrown worship event, I think you even picked up on it. You said to me that your confidence has really grown. So that was definitely contributed towards it. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it can be good to go places that are less familiar in a way. And perhaps you do lose some of your inhibitions, or, people perhaps respond to you differently because they know you've come from overseas. It's kind of like you're a novelty, or you're exotic, or I think something actually happens, I don't want to go too deep into the theology. I mean, I know you have a theology, your theology degree, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah.
So you'd know more about this than me, but when the the Bible talks about, prophets on welcoming their hometowns.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
it can be something of that, really, when you're just doing what you're doing in familiar surroundings. People maybe don't receive what you have to give sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you go somewhere new, perhaps people really absorb what you have to offer, the encouragements or the gift over your life, or your ministry can be really well received. Maybe people get bored of us, don't they? If they see us every few months or every week at church, people perhaps they don't engage with what you have to bring. And of course, it's not all about what we have to bring, but again, this is another theological discussion we'll leave for another
No, but there
time.
was definitely especially in Uganda, there was definitely, and even in South Africa, there was definitely a sense of, I don't think it wasn't awe of me, but it was awe of like God's, how can I put it, like God's presence in my life. And I remember one of the pastors in one of the Ugandan churches, he was just like so blown away, and he was like, oh, it's our dream to go to like these, I don't want to name them, but these big, worship places where worship music is really popular and all the worship leaders there, and he was like, God brought one of them all the way here to us, who are we? And I was really blown away. There was such a sense of honor. And obviously I just said to them, well, I'm just normal. I'm like anybody. I'm just like you. But there definitely was that sense of like really receiving from the gift, and I know that obviously it's God's gift, and they were really receptive to it. So that really, I think that also really helped me with my confidence as well, Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I think as a songwriter, you are given these gifts. Songs are gifts, and some gifts are amazing. Like, obviously I can't say what we've got our kids for Christmas, just in case they see this, Homegrown Hangout. But we've got some really special gifts for Christmas, and there's some other gifts which are a bit mundane, a little bit kind of everyday, but they're all gifts. And I think sometimes as a songwriter, you have a gift, and that you have a special song, something that maybe it's cost you something to write this song, or there's been a journey, or it's been something you've been really inspired by through scripture, or something that God said, and it is a gift, and you need to give that gift. And I think sometimes, having worked in church and worked in the music industry, and sometimes people mistake this kind of, I have something to give, as people being egotistical, but actually it is a gift, and if you have a gift, you have to give that gift. You can't keep it to yourself. That's kind of more selfish than sharing the gift. But some people kind of perceive it as ego or arrogance, and obviously you, as a writer and a worship leader, you always have to be checking your motives, that you're not kind of drawn to give just for the the response that you might
the accolades and the wanting to receive. I guess it can be like for the accolades and wanting to receive like value from it, because God gives us value, and we should know our value as his children, with or without our gifts. I'm not valuable to God because I have a gift. I'm valuable to God because I'm his and he made me. The gift is just an added bonus. And I remember once receiving like a prophetic word over my life that, this preacher, he said, Loulita, God has given you so many gifts, and these gifts are not only for you to enjoy, they're for the body of Christ. So I have to be obedient and give my gifts to the church, and that's how I'm going to bless the church. And if anybody thinks I've got an ego, well, that's their problem.
No, I think that's really important, because I encounter this a lot when I'm coaching artists and working with artists and writers. There's a real reluctance sometimes to share because of the fear of how people might judge them. And I think it's so important that we grow past that, and we accept, some people, if you share something, if you're upfront doing anything, if you have any presence on social media, if you have any popularity, you'll have unpopularity. And I think it's so important that we remember that, and continue to share and not be fearful of being judged, because that's just so counterproductive. It keeps us all kind of in our shells and hiding our lights under a bowl and all that kind of stuff. And I think the good thing about expressing yourself and being vulnerable with your songs, it might encourage someone else to share their song, or to write a book, or start something fresh, or bust out a pirouette, or whatever it is. I feel the Lord might be encouraging you to do this, Loulita. or maybe not. You can weigh that up. But anyway, let's go on to your album. So you have just released an album, and I've listened to it. It's brilliant. I heard some of the mixes because Aaron, who works with me, has been producing it with you. It's amazing. So tell us about the new album. What are the 2 or 3 songs that people really need to listen to?
Well, obviously the album is called Poured Out. So there's a real dual meaning in Poured Out. And that is obviously, God pouring out his love and his grace and his mercy and his kindness in our lives. And kind of our response to that is a pouring out of our worship. So there's a lot of songs that kind of are an expression of receiving that grace and mercy, but there's also a lot of songs that kind of express my thanks, my worship. And so I would say, okay, 3 songs. Probably, definitely Grace and Mercy. That's proven to be the real popular song on the album. And I think probably because I wrote that one when I was feeling really broken. And and Jeremy Neely, who's a friend of mine, he helped me finish it off. I'd kind of written most of it, and then he sort of added some bits to it, which just made it what it is. And then obviously Aaron did a brilliant job on the production. That's definitely one to listen to. Another one I would say is actually one that I was quite surprised with. It's the very first song on the album. It's called If Not For God. And kind of the heart of that one is, if not for God, like, where would I be? Quite simple.
Well,
simple message.
The first song has to be a good one, Loulita. You don't want to put your filler songs at the start, otherwise people won't listen through.
No, definitely. And actually, every time, when Aaron sent me that song, obviously the production on it was just so brilliant. And that song was really a mellow song. I sent it to him, and he sort of turned it into this epic vibey tune. And I was like, wow. So I always thought the album needs to open with that song. And I don't know, I think there's probably another song on the album which I would say would really kind of reach people's hearts is Through a Billion Voices. And I guess the reason why that one is because, when I first started this whole music journey, I began to understand as an independent artist how difficult it is to be heard and how difficult it is to actually get your music out there and get people to really listen to your songs. And so I felt kind of like, is anybody actually listening to anything I'm doing? And
God said, I am.
Yay!
It's great. I love the sentiment of that song. It's very powerful, and it's true. I mean, it's a very moving song and everything. So
it's kind of like, even if everybody else doesn't hear my songs and hear my music, which obviously I do want as many people as I possibly can find to listen to my music, to hear it, because there's such an awesome message in there. And it's a message of hope, and it's a message of life and freedom. But I kind of got to the point where I was thinking, well, even if nobody does, the one who I wrote the songs for hears me, and he hears my songs, and he hears my worship, and that's the most important thing, is that he hears. Everything else is
it is wonderful when you remember that, because it's very easy when you're sharing songs, and in this digital kind of age, you can easily lose sight of that without any kind of ego or kind of malintention. It's very easy to forget that. I think just songs, I love listening back to my own songs, and my wife used to kind of joke with me about why I was why am I listening to all my songs all the time. I think for me it often takes me back to when I wrote the song or captured the song, and to remember that moment of connection with God and feeling that sense of his presence and what he was showing me or teaching me or reminding me. And that's so precious. I know I always remember that Chris Martin from Coldplay says he doesn't listen to his own songs because he feels like it won't help him progress. And I was always challenged by it. I thought, well, actually there's something in that actually, in terms of creatively, if you get stuck listening to what you've done before, you might get stuck, but the Bible tells us to look forward, but also tells us to look back and remember what God has done. So I think as a creative person, I like to try and do both. I like to try and keep on the front foot creatively, not getting stuck in like grooves and patterns and what I've always done or what's been before, but remembering what God's done whilst also creatively moving forward. So I'd like to encourage anyone listening who's tuned in for this. I'd like you to listen to Loulita's album. Now, when I say listen to it, I don't mean put it on when you're chopping the vegetables with, I don't mean put it on whilst you're on Facebook. I mean, actually listen to it. Just imagine, Loulita's giving you the opportunity to listen to this on Spotify or Apple Music. Of course, you can buy a CD, and I recommend that if you've got a CD player in your car. But actually listen to it. Sit down, listen to it. Maybe light a candle or find a space and actually listen to it. Pretend you've bought it from HMV. You're unwrapping the plastic and looking through the credits, and actually listen to it. Because I think it's so rare now that people do actually listen to music like we used to. And those albums that you really listen to and make space and time for, they have that opportunity to go deep and transport you. And there is so much good stuff in this album. So I'd love to encourage people to this is my challenge, listen to it properly, like listen all the way through from start to finish and absorb it and receive what it has to offer and stuff. So what have you got planned for next year then? Obviously still touring and events and going out doing ministry is very different, but what have you kind of got on the horizon?
I think I just had a notification. Hang on a second.
Maybe that could be the answer. What did it say?
I was switched off now. Well, I definitely, it's been on my heart for a while to do, and I actually thought it was going to be an album, but I actually think it's going to be an EP, which I already have a title for it, but just kind of has songs which are real ministry type songs. So not a worship album, more of a contemporary album, but one that just really, because I think because I've been through so much in my life, I tend to attract people, I would say in my audience, who've also been through so much in their lives, or they know people who've been through so much in their lives. And so like I want to create this EP which really just ministers to right into the heart, of people. And so it will have, some sad songs in it. And one song is definitely I want to record is about letting go of a toxic relationship. And so there's a lot, that I really want to release that. And then I really want to use it as well to kind of like help I think you've always known this about me, help all the charities that are really on my heart, because I don't just want to help people emotionally and spiritually and practically, I want to help them practically as well. So see whether I can actually use that to raise some funds for some charities that are really, on my heart. And just seeing whatever doors God opens for me, going touring if I can. I would love to do another tour. Maybe do some worship events. And
they were great, weren't they? I remember those.
We had such a great time, and our worship events were just really amazing. Really loved them.
Yeah, no, because I've not been to church since like February, I think. I think February was the last time, and it's been a long time. So definitely looking forward to events. Well, no, hopefully you can get out and do some things, and
it'd be great.
Keep writing, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you, because it's been tremendous. We've been so blessed by the songs you've shared through the Homegrown worship community, by the people you've kind of introduced into the community. We've been blessed in so many ways. Just to kind of wrap up then, I'm guessing we're going to have some other worship songwriters and artists tuning in for this. What would you like to share in terms of an encouragement with people? Because you've done such a great job. You've been putting out music regularly, and you've been traveling, and you've been, kind of doing a lot of ministry online and all these kind of things. So what encouragements would you give to people? Because as you said, it can be really hard for people, and there's a lot of brick walls. And is anyone listening? Does anyone care? All these kind of things go around, even my head. I'm like, does anyone care I've released this song? Or sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what kind of encouragement would you like to give to people?
I think two things, Andy. First of all, I would say that if you are going to record your music, make sure that you invest in really amazing production. Because I've just noticed in my life and in my journey, you know, I've made that investment. It wasn't cheap, like what I've already spent on music is loads, but it's really helped me to get my message out there. I know I have a message, but how I package that message is so important. So make sure you invest in really great production. It really helps when you want to get playlisted on radio, when you want to send your songs out to people and get them listening. You know, people are so used to listening to great production. If you don't have great production, your song is not going to have as good a chance as somebody who's invested. And second of all, don't wait for you know, things to happen. Go out there and make things happen. That's just one thing I've done. Is like I've just, you know, I've decided that, you know, come what may, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to make it happen. Like this coming weekend, you know, I'm going to sing for my neighbors. You know, you have to make these things happen. I used to have house concerts. You know, when I first started, I was having house concert and I was creating my own events because I was like, oh, I'm not being invited anyway. I might as well just create my own. So, you know, don't wait for somebody to put like a, you know, a golden egg on your plate. You've got to go out there and just do it and work hard at it and be committed to your calling. You know, I'm very committed to my calling and I have a conviction about it. And I want to touch as many people's lives as I possibly can. And I know that, you know, nobody's going to do it for me. I have to do it myself. And yeah, it's such joy when you do it. It's amazing. So those are kind of like my little 2 tips, I would say.
Yeah. No, I agree with both of them. I think on the first point, I think it's 30 to 40,000 songs get uploaded to Spotify every day.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're scrimping on the production or you're thinking, I'll do it cheap, I'll do it with the guy down the road, or my friend's got a little studio at home. You know, if your friend's got a studio at home and they're amazing, great, work with them, take advantage of whatever opportunities you get. But yeah, it's so important that you share your music in the best possible way that you can. What's great online now is you can, you know, share stuff on Instagram or YouTube that is rough around the edges. But if you want Spotify playlisting and radio support and sync on film and TV and all that kind of stuff, it does need to be really good. It needs to compete with the labels and all that kind of stuff. And I totally agree on the second point. You articulated it really well. I think so often we look for approval. I still even struggle with this sometimes now. And my wife gave me an encouragement. She got a really random word, which she didn't really quite understand exactly what it meant when she was praying, and she shared it with me, and we prayed about it. And it was just the Lord reminding me that I don't need to seek approval from man. If God's asked me to do something, it's my responsibility to take a step forward, to take a step of faith. We all want people to pat us on the back and give us a round of applause and say, yes, you do it. But so often God wants us to step forward in faith. And if we're doing it because we're receiving that kind of encouragement or those accolades or the approval, perhaps we're not doing it in faith. Perhaps we're not doing it because God's asked us to do it. We do it because it feels easy or natural or, you know, in our comfort zone. And I think God is always wanting to encourage us to step out of our comfort zone. And the light is green. Unless it's red, it's green. God said, go. You know, Jesus commissioned his disciples to say, go out to all the earth and you know, share the good news with people. So we don't need someone to tell us it's okay to do that.
Just do it.
You just need to do it. And if you're doing it wrong or you're doing it with the wrong heart, God will, in his way, will lovingly correct us and point us
back
the right way to go. And or you know, he might say, not yet, but you know, we should always be looking to go and looking to go. So I've loved chatting. It's been really good. It's always encouraging to chat with you, Loulita.
And Andy.
So bless you. I'm really, really looking forward to hearing the testimonies of people who've sat through and actually listened to your album all the way through. And when you've done that, send Loulita a message. Tell her which 2 or 3 songs have really blessed you and stuff. So I will post a link to your album where people can buy it and also where people can listen to it as well. So bless you. Have a wonderful week. And congratulations on the new hair color as well. We didn't really go into that in the
no, it's red. I started this music journey with actually black hair. I'm now red. So who knows what's next?
Well, that's the great thing about releasing music. You can change, apart from me obviously, you can change your hair color with every new song that you share. You can do
Definitely.
the whole thing. Go for it. All right, bless you, Loulita. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Andy.
See you soon.